Okay, so welcome everyone to the second in our series of Israeli LGBT organizations explained. This week I'm very proud to welcome Avi Soffer. He is one of the, I'm not sure how to describe you, one of the mainstays of the LGBT community, I guess. He's been around for a long time, fair to say, and involved in a number of organizations. So this week, Avi has very kindly agreed to talk to us about Beit Dror, which provides crisis housing for LGBT teens that have been kicked out of home, or home has become an impossible place to stay. So without further ado, I will mute myself and hand over to him. So please feel free to introduce yourself. Tell us what your role is at Beit Dror. Tell us a little bit about the history, please, and so on.
As said, my name is Avi Soffer. I've been involved in the LGBT community something between 35 and 40 years. No, I didn't start when I was 7. Thank you very much. Regarding, I can talk for hours. So please just feel free, go out of mute and just ask questions. It's not a lecture. Just let's have a conversation about it. I don't know how much you know about the LGBT community, but there was one turning point there were many, of course. This is a more than 40 years activity in Israel of the LGBT community, but there was one major turning point, and that was in 1998. Until 1998, the community was not very political. We organized cultural events, social events, parties. There was one organization, maybe one and a half, that's all. There was Aguda, maybe you know the name. It has the stupid name of Society of Protection of Personal Rights, SPPR, because nobody could register anything else because it was illegal. So everybody knows it, Aguda. Aguda, that was the organization. What happened actually in 97? In 97, a young woman by the name of Michal Eden, she decided she was the first person to run for an office in the city of Tel Aviv, in the Council of City of Tel Aviv. Nobody heard of it before. There were, of course, I would say gay and lesbian, because we didn't know anything about trans people. Hardly. I was the chairperson of the Aguda, never met a trans person. So you should know what was the distance at that time. But it was a homo-lesbian organization. And of course there were gay people. And I would call everybody, instead of saying the LGBT, all this, I would say gay, I mean everybody. Of course there were, but nobody was running as an out person. In Meretz party, Meretz is the left, I don't know how much you know about Israeli politics. There was in Meretz party, she ran to be the party's candidate for the city of Tel Aviv Council. It was unheard of, and it was clear that she cannot be elected by gay people votes only. That was not possible. The party, as a liberal as it seems to be, was basically very left side conservative, big part of it, because it was made of 2 parties, and one of them was the old school people from kibbutzim, elderly people that left the kibbutzim, and they knew better than anybody else. It brought the community together, people from all different political views got together. And then another thing happened. A new candidate ran for the office of the mayor. He was, he was a headmaster, you say? He was a headmaster of a very prominent high school in Tel Aviv. He was a general in the Air Force, and he was very, very homophobic. Like he said horrible stuff about gay. He said that a gay man, nobody knows what it means. Gay men disgust him as cockroaches in a bottle. I once asked him, okay, can you tell me what cockroaches in a bottle are? And he was a headmaster in the school that I graduated. So there was some kind of confrontation. I was there, and he said, what it means? I don't mind if you hate me like this, but tell me what it means. He couldn't explain. And then he ran for the office. And these two things happened together. She said she's gonna run for the office, and he said he's gonna run for the office. And then another activist, Adir Steiner, went to him and said, listen, Adir Steiner is the person, maybe we talk about it when we talk about the history of, in another time about the history. Adir Steiner is the person that actually fought the IDF on his own and changed a very big part of the military law that is very, very relevant in tomorrow, because it changed the law of spouses of people that had fallen in war to be recognized, same-sex spouses, to be recognized as widows and widowers. Now you should know, again, I don't know how much you know it, in Israel it's a big deal. It's the most prominent thing you can be. And he said, okay, you show me. So she was running in a party on one hand, and Adir Steiner, the name of the person was Ron Khubdai, the mayor of Tel Aviv ever since, and he was accompanied by Adir Steiner. And he came to gay events, and he was confronted very loudly by people. He said, how do you say this about us? You're running a school. You educate our kids and you say that. And he said, I don't know, I'm a general in the military, it's very strange to me, and so on and so forth. But he stuck with Adir Steiner, and Adir Steiner took him by the hand, this event, that event. And then two things happened. He was elected mayor, she was elected to the council, which was unbelievable. You have to understand, we were knocking on doors. We created teams. I was in a team with Adir Steiner, and we knock at doors of people, telling them to vote for her. And people say, lesbian, what do you mean? Oh, she's with women. Yeah, I like women too, but I have a nephew. Maybe we get them together and she will marry. These elderly people of 60 and over, the old school leftists from the kibbutzim, they didn't know what we're talking about. And she got elected with the votes. She was very young then, and she was elected all of a sudden. And she managed at that time very fast to create a special bond with Khubdai. They became friends. Even though she was out, she was lesbian, she had a partner. Somehow, you know, a lot of times you go in your life and you say, by the end of the day, it's on a personal basis. A person met a person, and everything else is starts from there. They created a very strong bond. They became very good friends, and he started listening to her. He just started to listen on a personal basis. Plus, she's a very, very, very clever woman, and she knew what she was talking about. And she had a goal. She said, the one thing, there was no gay center. Are you familiar with the gay center in Bagan Meir, all of you? Because some people, okay. Cecile, are you familiar with the gay center? No, okay, in a few minutes. She said there was no gay center in Tel Aviv. This is the gay center, by the way, here is the picture of it, in a very center park in Tel Aviv. But in 1998, then it was 98, already 99, she said, there's one thing I want, of my term, if I can make one thing, I want a shelter for LGBT people that got thrown out of home when they came out. And the reason is that she got thrown out of home when she was out. And she had nowhere to go. And she actually was talking about herself a few years earlier. She was going in this bed in a friend's house and then to another. She was on her own. She was cut completely from everything she knew. And she got the coalition working for her. And then he said, you know, I don't know if he even understood what he's saying. He said, oh, you like it. Okay, you'll get it. Maybe he didn't even think that she's gonna go for it. She created some kind of a steering committee, of which I had an honor to be part of. And I have to admit, we had no idea what we are talking about. No idea. What's the budget, where it's done, how it's done. We were inventing it as we went along with no idea. And there were some examples from the world and some people that had more experience. There were some olim that had experience and came there from other places in the world that had this something similar. They came and they told us. And lo and behold, there was a house, there was a budget. You know, once in this institute, once there is a budget in the book, it's happening. There was a budget. There was a house rented in a Beit Dror. Can you imagine? That's one of the most expensive parts of the city. Nobody even thought deeply into it. How it's gonna go? Why are we there? But so I don't. You probably know, guys. Cecile, do you know where Beit Dror is? Cecile, are you in Tel Aviv? Are you in Tel Aviv? Me, are you? Do you know where Beit Dror is? Okay, so Cecile, you're not.
But I'm in Haifa.
I can't hear you.
I'm in Haifa.
Ah, you are in Haifa. Okay. So Neve Tzedek is the old part of town, very posh. It's a very rich area. That's what it is. As we say in Hebrew, you have to sell a kidney to rent a room there. Anyway, there was the house. Okay, we need to start. How do you start? What do you do? There were some staff hired. No one had an idea how it's gonna work. What happens if nobody comes? No, what happens if she has some kind of idea of her own life and it's okay, there'll be 5 of those. What are you gonna do? And then the kids started coming. It's been some 20 years ago, 6 years ago, the place was moved from there to a better house in Shkunat Hatikva. The idea is that such a shelter have to be near either train station or bus central station, because this happens all over the world. In New York, they come from all over, they end up at Penn Station, right? It's in Paris, it's the same. In Munich, it's the same. It's always, that's where they go. So the idea was to find a place that is close to a train station and to the central bus station. It is now, it was before not so far, but now it's even closer, so it's like a walking distance. And it evolved a lot. What I can say about it, it's the mirror of the LGBT community within the community at large. At first, it was the homo kids. 17, before going to, by 18, people go here to the military service. So 17, it was the boys that had problem coming out. 5 years later, the women started coming. The girls started coming. Then slowly, they came the people from the Haredi community and the Arab community. But at that point, there were gay men and lesbian women. There were kids. There were 17. What happened during the years, and I've been volunteering there on and off since then. I never really left there. And you could see the reflection of our community within the general community. The weakest link of it is always the Haredi community, the Jewish Haredi community, and the Arab community. These are the 2 weakest links. At first, there are only very few from this community, because it's a very difficult step for them, as difficult as it is for them in their own families and in their different communities. Haredi, yes, ultra. Thank you, Pastor. It's they still more difficult for them to leave. And sometimes it's horrendous. The conditions are horrible. If they're found out, they never come out, really, as we as secular people know. Very seldom. I very seldom heard of such cases. Either they found out, somebody found a phone, somebody, and please remember, at that time, there was no internet. So that it was even more difficult. It's more difficult to find information. It was more difficult to make sure that we are going to provide them with safe space, and for how long. Now, speaking of the time frame, from the beginning, it was established by the welfare ministry that Beit Dror is a temporary shelter for 3 months. And by that time, the shelter and the establishment around it has to find a permanent solution. At that time, it was, I would say, an empty saying. What permanent solution? Where would we go? It's very difficult. It was very difficult. It was only when this choice, as weak as it was better than what happened at home. During the years, it evolved, and trans kids started to show. At first, it was 1 in 10. Now, it's 9 out of 10. Because the weakest link is the trans community, both female and male, and the age of coming out is dropping in Israel at large, and in our kids. Very young. When people from abroad come to our hostel, they can't believe their ears. We tell them, oh, this kid, he's 14. They say, what? 14? Which means it's not that they started some process at 14 and 2 weeks, they left. For them to leave at 14, they started at 11. So the age of coming out in Israel in general is low. But in Beit Dror, when it's a trans kid of 11, 12, the youngest we had is a 13. Very complicated because it's a minor. Before it was, okay, you're a minor for 1 year, we'll find out. But if it's a 13, that's a kid that's gonna be a minor extra 5 years. In Israel, you're a minor until you are 18. And the parents are involved. Now, the 2 ways a person can have any help from any establishment. That's by law in Israel. One is by consent of parents. The other one is by legal decree, by order of the court. For us to go to court, Russell, an order, right? Stamp, take him out. We have to prove to the welfare authorities that this kid is under risk. Not easy. They don't do it that easy. You know that Israel is the country that initiated the law against kidnapping of children. After the World War, when there were hundreds of thousands of babies all over Europe, we didn't know who they are, that was the initiative of Israel to establish this law, because there were people holding Jewish kids and they didn't want to give them back. So here it's very strict. We cannot treat a person at all. If they're minors, they knock at the door within 48 hours. First of all, we communicate it to the welfare. We have a supervisor in the welfare that, okay, we have a kid. First, we try to reach the parents. A lot of times, the parents agree. Now we have 8 kids in Beit Dror, only 1 is under court order. 2 from 8. by want to start their transition. What do you do when they want to start a medical treatment? What do you do? And you know, they're kids. They're just kids. They have their, you need to take care of school. You need to take care of medical condition. You need to take care of the treatments that they want, if they want it, etc., etc. Another, the few very exceptional things about Beit Dror, which is unusual even in the world. One, normally such a house will have one social worker that takes care of the kids. We have two. One is this, take care of everything of the kids, whatever they need, the support they need, the treatment. They all go through treatment, all of them. They have to meet with a social worker once a week. She's in-house. Another person in-house, it's a family's therapist. It's very unique. We didn't find one place in the world that has it. The idea is to be able to get the kids back home, provided that everybody in the family go through family therapy. We have more than 50% success with follow-up. Follow-up of Beit Dror and follow-up of the local welfare. Welfare is geographical. Like if you are from Haifa, you cannot have services from welfare in Tel Aviv. You have to have services of welfare for where you are, because it involves the school, it involves your medical insurance, it involves many different things that are where you are. So immediately we are in contact with all these bodies. It's an amazing project. They come to Beit Dror for family therapy. It's very rare that it happens. No, it doesn't happen. We're looking for it. We never found it. It doesn't exist anywhere. That the house is busy with family therapy. They can say, okay, we take the kid home and then disappear. If they do disappear, we notify the welfare in their where they are, and the welfare will go home visits and find out what's the reason. There are many reasons. It can be. Again, there is a scale of difficulty. Since most of them are trans kids, the most difficult is, again, the ultra-Orthodox, the Haredi community, and the Arab community in Israel. There's another community we deal with. We have kids jumping the fence from the Palestinian Authority. Having said what I said about dealing with people that we don't have the authorization of the parents, and they are not Israeli citizens, it's very complicated. At the moment, we have two like this. What do you do when they jump the fence? They run from Ramallah, and they come to Tel Aviv, and they knock on our doors. What do you do? How do you treat them medically if they need something? They don't have local health insurance. Most of the time, they don't have health insurance at all. It's juggling. It's a lot of juggling in that. But it's an amazing staff, really. People are so committed, and we'll do anything to find solutions. Your door and you treat this medically. So it's not allowed, but they do it. In the past 2.5 years, I am full-time in Beit Dror in the capacity of what we call in Hebrew, Em Habayit. It doesn't have any other, I can't translate it. It's translated operation manager or no, it's better in Hebrew. It means the mother of the house. We have two names. One is Avabayit, the father of the house, and the other one is the mother of the house. The father of the house is the guy with the toolbox that hangs the pictures on the wall and change the electricity and do all the what you call the janitor. I have in my staff, I have one like that. He's trans guy, he's an amazing guy, and he's Avabayit. Emabayit, it is what it is. I take care of everything that is not the I would say, I'm not a social worker. I'm not a psychologist. I don't treat the kids in any way, but it's including the food, the clothing, the medical, the doctor's visits, oh, he wants this, he wants that, he needs this class, that class. It's actually everything. It's, I can't describe it. It includes collecting donations. Russell here, who knows me for many, many years, knows you cannot go near me without me stooping some donation out of you. It's not possible. So it's financed by the Ministry of Welfare in a silly way that is never, ever, ever enough. You probably heard it things. It's not enough. It never is enough. We're always short. We always juggle this and that and that and that. Fortunately, the community is very supportive. For example, unlike other such shelters, we don't have professional most of them. The one who does it the longest does it for 14 years. It's a home. It's somebody's home. So we treat it as such. So if there is a cooking volunteer, it's a person that is committed for a long time. He talks with the kids, what they want. You know, it's kids. This one doesn't like that. The other one doesn't like that. This one is allergic to this one. This one wants this. So we treat it like as much as we can as a home. Having said that, we always emphasize, this is not your home. It's temporary. We will try to help you to get to I would say, by the way, the mayor that started with cockroaches in a bottle became the community greatest friend. This in the country would not be the same without him. This gay center, which he donated, everybody in the gay center works for the city. The burden of employing people and keeping the place is not on the community. So it's amazing. We can knock on his door and whatever he can, he does. There are few other LGBT council members since then. There were few. And the Gay Center is a mission of one of the council members that was elected 11 years ago. He said, I'm going to have a gay center, and we did. And he's now also a council member. So things politically have changed in the city, and with it, the influence of Beit Dror in the community, and what happened with the permanent solution. We have since then another shelter for 18 to 25. It's forbidden to keep minors with adults. That's by law. It's not LGBT, it's everywhere. You cannot keep adults with minors. In Israel, after 18, you are considered adult. Okay, we don't throw them out. We look for solution. Now there is, it's called the pink roof. From 18 to 25 under different conditions, again, because they're adults. They have to work, they have to support themselves. But there is some kind of a system that gives them that. There are 3 apartments. We call it transition apartments. It's only for trans people, 2 for trans women and 1 for trans men. There they can stay for 1 year. And so there are few solutions, not enough. Nowadays, we started since this crazy corona crisis, we always, as much as we can, try to maintain contact with what we call our past kids, the kids that were in the house, and we try to follow up. How are you doing? What you do? They come over. They have dinner with us. So we keep contact because they don't went through most of the cases. So they need some kind of basis. And this corona is called by donations, and we started turning Beit Dror in kind of a food distribution center. They call, what do you need? How many people are you living together? And we start sending big parcels of food. And this is the only source. Now we don't ask questions. If they call and say, listen, I'm in a big need, I need medications, I need whatever, we buy it and we send it. And with this, I will let you ask questions because I can hold you here until the morning. There's something, again, unusual about this house, which is normally, this thing would be divided in 3 houses. One, we have a night shelter. A kid can knock on the door in the evening, go in, have a shower, have a fresh change of clothes, have dinner, get up in the morning and leave. We don't notify anybody, it's a night shelter. That's one. Another one is the kids that go through all the treatment, and we try to put them somewhere. They stay 3 months, but majority of them stay up to 6. Because it takes us more time to find a solution. It depends how old they are. Let's say a kid of 17 come to us, and in 6 months, he goes to some military course. Of course, we'll keep him until this course. We're not going to tell him go to the street for 2 months to wait for your course. So this is the second layer. And the third layer, open for trans people only, is long-term. If they're young and they start the transition process, we have kids that stayed for 2 or 3 years. Normally, it's very difficult because it's a different conduct of the kids and of the staff towards them. If you meet a kid that is there with you 2.5 years and somebody that came and is going in a month, it's different. But there's no other option. I wish there was another house, but there isn't. And to open, I don't see another one opening for minors. So what we do is we stretch. And the first floor, there's one room, which is a night shelter. We come in, everybody knows what they need. And sometimes I need a toothbrush. And there is a set of questions they're asked. Do you need a toothbrush? Do you need Sometimes we don't ask. We just give it to them because we know some of them, they're street kids and they will not tell you. They want to be out. So we do that. We just say, okay, here it is. Is this and then next week they'll come another night, and then another week they said, oh, maybe I stay 2 nights, and then they stay. They so mistrusting the system, and they see us as part of the system, even though it's very difficult to call us a system. This is Beit Dror. Between 80 and 100 kids go through our doors in a year. Long-term, short-term, night, whatever. We celebrate all the holidays. Now we're celebrating Ramadan and Yom Ha'atzmaut together. We celebrate Christmas, we celebrate Rosh Hashanah, we try to give them whatever they had from home because some of them are Muslims and the others are Christians, and we have the Jews, we have everything. No kid is turned out. No such thing. In 20 years I did, it maybe happened twice because of risk. 7 months ago, we had an attack on the door. A trans girl was stabbed by her brothers. She was with us for forgot. She was saved by 20 seconds on the street. This was very dramatic for us because the kids were there. It was on Friday, very big deal. They all go to school. They have to go to school. The different stages of how they go to school. Do you want to ask anything that you're interested in any of the? Ask me something. What are you interested in?
Of course, the means that
Yes.
Unfortunately, when you say kids, very often drugs are in the picture. What do you do in Beit Dror when you find a kid,
Drugs.
be it a man, woman, or a drug issue?
We have to.
There you go.
And everything that goes with it. Drug and prostitution, as I told you, we have parents' consent. If one parent with a kid that doesn't use drugs will hear that, oh, they're doing drugs inside the shelter, it's from worse to worse. I'm not doing it. So inside, they can do it. But we do not turn away a kid, not in prostitution, not in drugs, and very often it goes together. We try to treat it. We try to help them. It happens. We have random drug checks. They know that I have in my cupboard, my office. I have this, and how do you say madrichim? Instructors. Counselors. They will do it randomly. Okay, you now. When you work a lot with it, you know when it happens. It's not a closed institute. They can come and go. And inside the schedule, they have evening out. They have evenings in the LGBT youth organization. They go out. And they have evening hours. They can go. It's not a prison. It's not a closed institution. And yes, they sometimes, if they are in it, they may do prostitution. And we provide STD checkups as much as we can. We try to talk about it. We have counseling regarding safe sex. We try to, as we believe that sex is amazing, but don't take the risk. It's okay. We don't tell a person, oh no, at 14, you can't have sex. Because this so we don't, but we try to teach them. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't. But still, the options of saying, oh no, you're out. There are few red lines that we say, if a person imposes risk to himself within or to all of us, then this person is not accepted, and it happens. It can happen. They post the location, we have somebody, sometimes we keep them undercover. Nobody knows where they are. And then another kid posts on what do they call it now, the Instagram. Here we are with a picture where we are, all this. We talk about it. But otherwise, it's on a daily basis. It's all the time around, of course. Many of them, we are not the first station. With many of them. The person that goes from a nice home, mom and pop home with a white fence and 2 dogs and a cat and come to us, seldom happens. A lot of time, we have to understand that a lot of times, the fact that they are LGBT, it's the smallest problem. They come from very problematic houses, domestic violence, sexual assault within their families, drugs within the families. It's being LGBT, sometimes it's the least of the problems. It's not the major issue. It used to be when we started. Oh, my child is out of the closet, I threw him out. It always goes with other problems, always, almost always. They have psychiatric issues. We have an in-house psychiatrist. because sometimes they come with very bad psychiatrist problems. It can be because of use of drugs, or I have to say we have everything. When you think, okay, I heard it all, no, it'll be a surprise. In 5 minutes, somebody's gonna knock on the door. It's there. There's no one answer to that. It's treated all the time.
You mentioned that a lot of the parents have to give their agreement, or some of the parents give their agreement for the kids to be there. Back in the day, the only time I was there was with Michal Eden once, and she explained to me how the facility operates. And in that time, the kids were kids that ran away from home and didn't want their parents to. The last thing they wanted was their parents to know where they are, because the brothers would come and try to kill them.
Yes. Again, what we do, if there is a threat to life, let's say that the case that you are, the police is involved, and then again you find out, oh, that's not the first time. The police in the area where there are some village in the north or some village in the south,
or Beersheba or Dimona or Sderot.
Yes, but they know about it. I have to say something. It's only us, all right? Don't quote me. If you quote me, I say it's a lie. Within the Jewish community, we see almost no threat of life. What we see is, get out. I don't want to hear about it.
Really?
This we see. But threat for life, when the kid already left for a few months, and not for the first time, and the brothers in the village sit and decide that for the honor of the family, they have to go, and they came in broad daylight. That you seldom see. Look, in 20 years I'm there, I've seen it maybe once. But in the case of the family honor, I see it all the time. So it's, you have to have one of the two. Let's say there is a real threat, then you go to your supervisor in the welfare ministry, and the welfare ministry will go to the court and say, this is the case. We cannot keep a child without authorization. It's kidnapping. I cannot. A kid has an argument with mama and papa about having the phone or not, and knock on our door. You can't. It's not possible. Somebody has to give you the authorization.
Either the parents or the municipal authorities.
Within 48 hours, let's say 72 if it's more complicated, but we have to show. We report any entrance to the house, we call it entrance, okay? So the kid knocks at the door. We report every entrance.
Wow.
Because we don't know where it's going. It may look very innocent now, and it may escalate in 4 days, 5 days. We cannot. But there is a good net by now, for so many years, there is a system that operates very fast. And I have to say that a lot of times, even from these families, you can say, you know what? A lot of times the family is divided. Okay, it's not everybody in the family. There'll be a mother, there'll be an aunt, they say, you know what? Take him away, hide him somewhere. I signed a document. It happens, even in these families. Of course, when it's the kids from Ramallah, what can you do? A lot of politics is involved. But so far, they're getting everything they need. And we're not going to let them go before we have a solution, no matter what happens. We're not going to break a court order. But I never saw it happen, that the court say, never mind, send them back if there is a risk of their life. You know, there is what do you call it? Amanah shel ha'um. There's a United Nations. What is it called? There's some kind of international protection of the children.
International resolution.
To protect all children in the world. We operate under this if this happens. We go and say, okay, what are we? There's a refugee child knocking at our door. What do you suggest to do? So this is also something that we operate on. They're not sent like this, just, okay, there's a risk, go. It won't happen. There's always somebody, and lucky for us, the community is very, very connected. You know, they said these homos are everywhere. Now there are lesbians everywhere. Now there are trans people everywhere. They always this knows that, and that know this and know that. And you call the judge, and the judge as a friend. And they say we rule the world. They are absolutely right. I use it. I use the connect. We all use. You use the connection. You call a friend. Listen, we need to pull the strings. We do it all the time. Medical treatment as Doctors Without Borders. So they treat everybody that knock on their door. We had some refugee kids from Africa, African refugee kids. We had those as well. Every kid is a new story, and every kid needs a tailored solution. And we turn every stone to find it, and we do find it. I have to say that the community is also it's involved community. We have somebody to call now. 20 years ago, there was nobody to call because nobody knew what we want. What kids, what are you talking about? Now people know about it. Know of it. They don't know all the details. Okay, what else, guys? Asaf, you must have some million questions. Asaf is not hearing me.
Roy.
Roy, oh, sorry, it doesn't matter, I have problem.
No
His
problem.
handsome husband is Asaf.
No, I'll come out of the closet with names thing. I don't know names.
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned nowadays it's not just the fact that they're queer that they have to leave home. You're finding that it's generally, it's hard to say generally, easier for kids to come out to their parents these days? You're saying generally it's other issues, plus the gay thing is just the straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing?
Look, first of all, the fact that in every city, in Haifa, in Beersheba, there is a community. So you're not alone. When we came out, besides the personal feeling that you are alone in the world, but if you go out and you look, there is this community, there's internet, you click, gay Haifa, boom, things come up. You can call somebody. It's easier than network. Let's say a gay kid of 17. Okay, gay guy. Let's divide it. If you're trans, it's a different story. But let's say a gay guy of 17 comes out in Haifa or in Beersheba, there are solutions. If it's from the Bedouin community, no. But if it's a Jewish gay guy from Beersheba, Haifa, even Yerushalayim, within the community, we develop solutions. Even though he calls Iggy, this person knows that person. We created a network. Women, same story. Women are even better than men. The network of women is a lot better than the network of men. So it's an easier solutions. Trans kids, complicated. Okay. Complicated on one hand, easier on the other, because that if they go crazy before calling, but if they have a secular family and they can find the information. Now, on one hand, it's like I'm saying one thing and the opposite, not because I'm crazy, because that's the reality we live in. On one hand, it's complicated, they run away from home, etc., etc. On the other hand, there's an organization, it's called Brit Leviot, the Lionesses Alliance. It used to be only mothers, now it's parents of trans kids. And when I say trans kids, I mean some of them are 5 and 6. Can you imagine? It was never even, if you would tell me this in 10 years ago, I'd say, what are you talking about? Never happens. It does happen. They're very active. So if you want, when your kid comes out as trans, or even, well, no kid at 5 comes, okay, I'm trans, when they start telling the stories, I imagine this, I imagine that, that's most of the stories that I hear, the parent can find information that never existed before. So the fact that we have this network helps. Let's say the food thing that we are running now. Where would I have organized it 10 years ago, even if I wanted? Now, it's there. We are close to 30,000 shekel. Okay, it's a drop in the ocean if this crazy stuff goes on, but it is happening. So it's kind of reflecting, as I said before, it's reflecting the society at large, but it's also reflecting us as a society. We are I am sure that the LGBT English speakers, the first one that came, like you, Roy and staff, found it very difficult. Now you are there to catch them. Here, guys, here's the information. Here we are, we meet. It's the same. It's the same, but there'll always be difficulties coming out. There are a lot of issues. A lot of them come from very bad families, complicated families, violence within the family, incest, sexual violence, domestic violence, crazy history. And then in this big volcano of problems, come an LGBT kid. Good morning, I'm trans. So this is taken care of in our family's therapy. A lot of time, it's not even about the LGBT. It's about anything else. What do you do if there is incest within the family? How do you bring this kid back? What do you do with a trans kid that is being raped by the brother? And nobody with the family knows, sort of. It's complicated. So the fact that, you know, in my business, I had a saying, oy vey, it might succeed. So we and what if you come out? You are mute. Okay. Okay. Then,
if it's my signal or your signal.
no, I don't touch anything.
Sometimes the Wi-Fi cuts out.
Okay. How old were you, Nathan, when you came out?
Older. After I got divorced.
After you got divorced. Russell, were you ever at the closet?
What? No.
No. Okay, you're the lucky ones.
No.
Cecile, how old were you, if you are?
She's on mute. There you go.
I'm actually not fully out yet.
But when you started, the first time,
25.
okay, you don't ask a lady the age. Okay, me, you're young. How old?
I'm around 50. I only realized it a year ago.
Okay.
I was 18 when I came out.
18. Okay, look, this is a different, if we take the average here, this is our generation. I'm telling you, they're coming out at 12. And this puts a lot of pressure on the system. Schools, okay? Schools. Teachers in our generation never have to deal with it. It's not that they were for us or against us.
Didn't exist.
They never met us. Now, they're coming out in such a, can you imagine? We were in the Knesset with mothers of trans kids of 6. And people said, oh, you're making it up. What a 6-year-old kid knows. And she started talking. And she said, come and meet my kid and see, he knows better than you do. So it's the whole pyramid is flattened down. There's more and more kids. And when they start coming out, they bring their friends. And more and more and more coming down. It's like a wave. And it puts a lot of pressure on us, which we are grateful. That's why we are there to catch it. Because on everyone that comes to us, 50 or 100, at the end of the chain, we catch the people so exactly the image of the development of the LGBT community within the general community. This is the image of Beit Dror. Now it's the trans area. It's very unique. This kid is, all of a sudden, he's a minority because the majority will be trans kids. It's an amazing place. It is an amazing place.
Right, unfortunately, I think we're going to have to wrap it up. But thank you very, very much,
I
Avi, for
thank
talking
you.
to us.
I thank
Hope everyone here enjoyed
Can you
it.
put a link? Can you put
Yes,
the link?
so I will. Yes, hold on. We've been recording this, so I will post that on Facebook. But also, let me just.
We have a link.
Yeah, go for it.
We have a link to the food operation. Okay. And every 2 containers of cheese. First of all, I'm on Facebook. If you want, feel free to join me on Facebook. And love to meet the people that I do know. And thank you very much.
How is it with sharing of this recording?
Sorry?
How is it with sharing?
It's going to be on the site.
Roy, read what I wrote.
It's already on the site.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that, Russell. Okay. So yeah, so the link is in the chat window. Hopefully everyone should be able to see that if you want to make a donation, obviously. But thank you very much.
Thank
Avi,
you very much, dear. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thanks,
and
Avi.
we'll have you
Good to
back
see
again
you.
to talk about history again. But thank everyone for coming along and joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And hopefully we'll see you all again soon.
Thank
Thanks a lot.
you. Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much. Bye-bye.